So given that you are the champion of APIs, Postman is leading from the front. It is in fact shaping shaping the entire industry on how API should be used, right? So you are at the forefront. So from that vantage point, what do you see the future of APIs looking like, say in the next 3, 5, 10 years? Where do you see this is all heading towards?
Got it. Got it. Yeah, probably like one of the most interesting questions, Ravi. All right. So how I think about like when you think about API, right, you would always have to think from the perspective of the consumers. Like who would be the consumers of those APIs, right? So how I am seeing, or we are seeing this transition happening, right? We are seeing that the world is moving from APIs being utilized only by developers to APIs being used by builders. Now, what I mean by builders, right? Like you, all you need to do is like you need to have an like idea. Like this is the thing that I want out of a product, right? For example, like a very easy use case I'll give you. Like for example, what I want in life is that find top tweets on Twitter with one particular, let's say, hashtag, and send me like a weekly email, or send my users or my people who have subscribed to my email a weekly email about top tweets from Twitter, right? Now, for this, you don't need to be a developer today. All you need is access to Twitter API. You need access to SendGrid API, and all you could do is fetch tweets from the Twitter API, put them in SendGrid in a content, and just send it out. And you could achieve all those things within just by using APIs as Lego blocks, right? So what I would assume, like in next coming years, we'll see like more and more builders coming up who would be leveraging APIs a lot for their own personal use cases, or to build their uh, own products, right? We are also seeing like a lot of change in personas who are using these APIs. So earlier we used to see like only front-end developers, back-end developers, and maybe to a certain extent product managers using APIs. But now we are seeing with like these API first organizations, like you have salespeople, customer reps, and even designers who are interested in how their API is shaping, right? Because when you're designing a UI, you would want to understand, okay, this is the information that is exposed from the API that that our team has designed, and what is the useful information that we could portray on top of on our UI, right? So we are seeing like more and more stakeholders getting involved with uh, with the APIs, and that's why I feel like things like rise of no code and low code apps, that would also increase like a lot of utilization of API as we go forward, right? And as we see like more and more users start to relying on these APIs, we would probably see like rise in terms of new API protocols and specifications, right? For example, GraphQL, right? If you understand like why GraphQL into picture was that Facebook wanted like a very efficient manner to transform data from backend to front-end applications and to mobile applications, and they wanted to do an optimized way. They didn't want to send all the information that is required and probably use just like one or two bits of that information, because for example, if you have like a very large payload and you're just trying to use like a particular information from that payload on your UI, you're anyways calling such an expensive API. GraphQL helps you in trimming that down and only asking for what is required to view that particular page, right? And that's how like GraphQL came into picture, because the usage of API has transformed based on how it was being utilized on the front end application. Similarly, we are seeing like a lot of async API for asynchronous communication, right? And my assumption is like when we see like these new sets of products coming out, which is like low code apps, no code apps, IoTs, APIs that offer artificial intelligence on requests, like Watson APIs, right? You would see like a new protocol or new version or new specifications of APIs coming out there. Uh, this would also lead to a new like an improvement in terms of product tooling and what I call it as like API enablers. For example, tools that would help you in visualizing the response itself, right? For example, you receive the response and you magically get a UI on top of it because
Let's talk about this, because this is exactly how I also see the demands from our customers. They don't need our product, they need the data, okay, and then they want to visualize it the way they want. It is customizable. It is
Yep.
configurable. Don't tell us how we want to use the UI. We want to use the UI in the way we feel fit. So help us understand how is this world shaping up.
Got it. Got it. I think there is like a lot of like my personal interest is also towards these things because that's from API perspective. That's how I also see that these tools would start getting a lot more traction. For example, I'm not sure if you've heard this tool called Retools, right?
No.
So this
How
is
do you
a
spell it?
tool, RE tools like Retools, and what it allows you to do, right? It allows you to like drag and drop UI elements and connect that behind the scenes to a particular database, right? And it's all encompassed into one particular product, right? Now, if we say that APIs are being offered as like Lego blocks, right? Then what you want is some sort of like a UI on top of these Lego blocks, and then your UI could also be like a Lego block on top of it that understands that API response. So see, like here you are dragging and dropping things from the side, but creating like the UI that you want. You want a list, sure, you will get a list, right? And the response of these things can come from anywhere. They can come from any sort of API. All you need like is a transformation logic that transform your API response into the response or the format that this UI would understand. That's it. And then no one would need UI. Like you can just have like a API's returning response, you transform it, and you convert it into like whatever UI you want. You want charts, you want tables, feel free to do that. Postman also has interestingly a Postman visualization in which you get API response and you could write your own transformation on that response and build your own UI. We had customers who have built charts for their APIs, who have like for I think there was one shippable. Uh, wait, I think I'm getting the name wrong. So there was like an organization who was in uh, this courier business, right? And what they wanted to portray was their centers onto on like a global map, and they had an API that returned all their centers that are there out there in the world. What they did was they built like a visualization on top of it. So when you send that API, rather than saying that geolocations, you see like a map in which those are points embedded on like a global map inside Postman itself. Postman also very recently launched Postman Flow Runner, which helps you in building these automated flows within Postman itself. So you can create different types of APIs and achieve outcomes from those APIs. Like the one that I mentioned, like you fetch top to eights, transform them, and send it out as an email. You could achieve this entire workflow in Postman today. It's in beta right now, but I think we'll hit GA very soon with that particular feature as well.
This is so transformative. Huh? This is like mind shifting for me. Um, so as so help us understand how should companies who are offering APIs as products prepare for this? So should they offer like how should the conversation be with the customers? Like who is deciding whether to use retool to create this mashed product, drag and drop product? So should you be consulting to these customers, asking, hey, you use Retool or you use this workflows from Postman, or is this something that the customer is aware and they have the freedom to pick, and we just have to expose it APIs? How does it? Maybe you
Got
can
it.
explain the
So I think
conversation that should happen.
absolutely. So I think Ravi, like the conversations should always be from the perspective of the user in terms of what are their needs from the business, from the product that they have, right? Not like how they're going to consume those APIs. I'm telling you, like in future, you would see tons and tons of products that would be built around APIs. So if I would say like if let's do the conversations around what kind of products you are using for those APIs, you would again be able be create you would only be creating like limited set of APIs that are optimized for those certain tools, right? What we should rather do is understand the use cases that users are trying to achieve through our APIs or through our products. That hey, why you would be interested in this kind of API? What would you use this API for? Let's say if we give you this, right? And in that sense, you would try to understand users' mindset and perspective better, and you would design and build an API which is far more better than you would do otherwise, right? And once you do that, and it's an API that is well thought through, well designed, easily extensible, then your users would have entire flexibility to use whatever tool that they want, whether it's Postman, whether it's Retool, or any other product that comes up in future. So, like I said, like if you even if you're like a product manager, always have the conversations like you would have if you're building like a new product itself. Like who are the users? What would they want? What are the use cases that this product should solve? API should also form or should also have like similar conversations. So if you think APIs are going to be the products of future, and we should have those conversations in the same way.
And what would be the market for the opinionated UX point solutions that we might already be having? Like, should we kill them off, or is there a market for smaller customers who might not have these integration capabilities? Or do you see the future that even smaller customers are not going to use it because the the barrier to entry is coming low with no code tools? Even the smaller customers, even an individual customer with a single person business, will also be able to use such no code tools to consume your APIs.
Yeah, I would see we would. I believe we would see like a down trend towards like UI based products. Like for example, in the past 10 years, like if you would see if you're following the funding news, the organizations are able to generate valuations and funds just based on the API that they're offering. APIs around security, Snake, you might have heard, and you have Played, you have Twilio. All these were able to generate revenue just based on that. Hey, we have this API, we are solving a business problem, and we are solving a business problem in like a very easy fashion, right? So you would obviously see like a downtrend because if let's say as an organization you are able to solve the similar use case that you were able to solve with the UI, you would rather spend more time in building APIs rather than UI. That's what my understanding is, right? Obviously, it's still going to be like a long in distant future, but that's what it's going to be. And I think this will also be supported with an advancement in low code tools where it would become like so simple for people to consume API. I would say like in current scenario, the we see people relying on UI based tools because there is friction in how we consume those APIs. With Postman, we
Mhm.
are trying to solve it to like a certain extent because you get like a very easy UI, you get like a one click access to APIs which you could use to send, but still like visualizing it, accessing it is a little bit tough. Or authorization is another problem. Once we start gapping those things down, right, removing those friction points, you would see like it becomes so easy for people to consume the response. I'll give you like I'm not sure if you have been following this news in India, right? Like the COVID API, right? So they like the COVID portal for vaccination. I'll give you like a very interesting case study that happened in Postman, right? So COVID came up with an API from the day one, right? So it was like a very thoughtful decision from their perspective. And within 1 week, we saw tons and tons of APIs who were offering you ways in which you can get notified when a vaccination slot is available in certain hospitals. You
Got
could
it.
set you could set monitors on top of it to understand okay how is the vaccination trend going on when we have reached certain limit, just so that you could get comfortable in going out there in the public, right? So just imagine like COVID was a platform to make book slots, but people developed workflows on top of it and just automated their entire workflow. As
Because
soon as the
it just, yeah, because it actually unlocks creativity, right? It
absolutely,
unlocks potential, it unlocks, because the scenarios are different, and it actually helps spread the value of that API, and it is such a growth lever. Okay,
absolutely,
otherwise, if you don't open these APIs, you never know how the community would react. In fact, it is good that you have a strategy for it. You never know where your next growth will come from. So
absolutely.
such a big aha moment for me as well. So excellent. Well, this brings us to an end of a fascinating conversation, Prashant. It just got better and better as we were conversing, and I actually am ending this conversation on a high because most of the aha moment was in the last 10 minutes of conversation that we had on the future of APIs. And I know for sure that there are many product managers who have not realized this change. They're still thinking about point solutions. They're still thinking about UI, UX based products. But if you want to unlock growth and the your growth lever is API. And thanks for realizing that.